All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our class of 2027 registration. We are recording this broadcast, so if anybody has any questions and you're watching this on recording, feel free to send us an email. Other than that, everyone who is here with us live tonight can go ahead and put questions in the chat. I would ask that everyone keep their microphones muted so that we can make sure that we don't have any background noise. All right, Mr. Gordon.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Scott Gordon. I'm the principal at Old Town High School. Mr. Jeremy Bousquet is our assistant principal and director of athletics. He is out on the baseball field tonight as our JV baseball and softball teams are playing Bangor, so he will not be with us.
And I am Amy Ketch. I'm one of the assistant principals.
I'm Kim Ketch, one of the school counselors. I have students with the last names A through K.
And I'm Jamie Martell. I'm the other school counselor, and I have students with the last names L through Z.
Okay. If everyone could please navigate to their chat, which is down along the bottom, and put your student's name and their middle school. This is how we're kind of take attendance to make sure that we know who we need to follow up with and who attended tonight. So in the chat, if you could please put your student's name and their current middle school. Excellent. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate that. All right. So our transition to high school process starts tonight with our course selection presentation. So the beginning will be a little bit about Old Town High School and some programs that we offer. And then we'll transition and talk about what classes students can take next year. Again, use of chat. If you have any questions, please put those questions in the chat. Ms. Martell and Mrs. Ketch will monitor the chat for the first half, and then we'll switch and I'll monitor the chat for the second half. So part of that transition process, we know coming to high school is a big step for students, and there's a lot of anxiety about coming into the high school. So the first day of school for freshmen will be on August 31st from 8:30 to 12, and that will be for freshmen only. They'll have the run of the building. They'll be able to meet their teachers. They'll be able to really walk through their schedule and find their classes. And then we'll end with lunch so that they know how to go through the lunch line. So we find that this is really a great day for students to kind of ease some of that anxiety. Because it doesn't matter how familiar students are with the high school. It's just an anxious time. My own children went through the same process and were just as nervous as everybody else on their first day of high school, despite having grown up around the high school. So we totally understand that, and we're willing to do whatever we can to kind of help ease that for students.
So with Mr. Bousquet not with us tonight, I'm going to take the co-curricular and extracurricular information slide and try to do that justice. We have several athletic offerings at Old Town High School. There are 16 varsity sports for boys and girls. If you were not happy, and you're going to hear us say this several times tonight and in the fall when we first meet you in August, that your eligibility is you have a clean slate. Whatever you did in middle school, whatever you're doing in middle school in terms of academics, that will not affect your eligibility. Everybody is eligible to play a sport in the fall. And we will say again, probably several times tonight, we highly encourage you to do that. It's a new beginning, and it's a great way to kick off your high school career. You do have to take 6 courses in grades 9 through 11 and 5 courses in grade 12 to remain eligible. That won't be a problem. Your school counselors will help you with that. Our fall sports start in August. The one big thing you'll need to think about as you proceed through the summer is getting a physical. You need 1 physical over the course of 4 years at Old Town High School. There's paperwork here at Old Town High School and available online to take care of that physical. There are a couple of other forms you need to fill out as well, but the sports physical form is the big one. We also have several co-curricular offerings from pep band, music, theater, robotics, math team, and probably others that are not on that slide. It's really important that you get involved. You can make high school as fun as you want it to be with the other offerings around your academics. There'll be virtual and physical options for you to sign up for the programs in the fall. Follow us on social media and the athletics page that I mentioned on our website. Please access that to get more information and to get paperwork. If you have other questions beyond that, please reach out to Mr. Busquet. He's very available via email. Mrs. Ketch, next slide. We have, in addition to the regular Old Town High School diploma that everyone can earn, there are 3 different diplomas of distinction that can be earned. There's an honors, a STEM, which really focuses on science, technology, and mathematics, and a new diploma, which is called the Humanities Diploma. We'll have students graduate with that just this fall, and that really focuses on English, history, and really what it means to be a human being. The enrollment for that will be in the fall of 2023. This fall, when you come in, make sure you let your school counselors know you're interested in that extra diploma of distinction. We're really proud of those, and it's a really great way for you to extend your learning beyond what you learn in your normal classes at Old Town High School. We're really fortunate to have a gifted and talented staff on board. Brenda Gardner, probably many of you or your parents know her. She helps out with not only the honors, STEM, and humanities diplomas, but also with any online courses you may take. She oversees all of those. She's a wonderful resource, and we're the only school in the area that offers a staff member like that to help you with not only those extra diplomas, but also with online courses. So she's a wonderful lady. Please get to know her. Another program that's really important to us, and one you might consider if you haven't already, is our GROTC program. That's a program that's been around for 21 years. And it's earned honor unit with distinction for 16 of those years, all of the years that it was eligible. And it is affiliated with the U.S. Army, but it really is not it's not a program designed to recruit students. It's really a leadership program. There's a curriculum that goes with it. And it's a program you really ought to consider, especially if you don't have a hook. If you're not involved in band or athletics or anything like that, it's a great way for you to do something extra at Old Town High School and enjoy your time here. Our instructors, Steve Schweck and Joel Peasley, are wonderful, and it's a really great program.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. So I have the last 2 bullets on this slide, and you may look at them and think, well, we're talking about transition to high school. Why are we talking about college classes? And that's because we really want students to start thinking ahead of what they're going to do after high school so that they don't get to their senior year and say, I wish I had taken this class, or I wish I'd done this to get me ready for this 2-year school, this 4-year school, going into the military, etc. So while we are looking at getting you guys ready for high school, we really want you to think of the fact that you've got these 4 years to get yourself ready for what comes after high school. And for those who are thinking I'm heading to a 2-year school or a 4-year school, we do have a variety of options to get some college credits under your belt while you're still in high school. And think of it, every time you take a college class or earn college credits in high school, think of that as a scholarship. University of Maine is around $600 to $800 per credit hour. College classes are 3 to 4 credits. So that's a significant savings anytime you can get some of those credits done while you're sitting in our building. Some of those classes are done online, but some of them are done in the walls of Old Town High School, taught by the staff that we have. So they do become more accessible for students. So through the University of Maine system, freshmen can start their 2nd semester if they meet certain requirements, earning some of those credits. They're also open to students over the summer. Every student in the state of Maine has access to 12 credits per year through the University of Maine system. So that's quite a good way to be able to build that resume as you move forward. We also have students who take classes through Husson University, but they do require the junior status to be able to do that. So we'll give more information as those come available. Concurrent enrollment classes, currently we have English, math, art, and US history. We do offer AP classes. AP is advanced placement, which are done through the College Board. The difference is you have to take a test in order to be able to get the college credit, and you have to pay for that test. The credits through the University of Maine system are free. So we've really been leaning that way because they are more accessible for students. We have a huge tradition of students be very successful during the college application process. And we've had alumni who have been very good to us as they've moved through their years after Old Town High School. Our class last year, we announced over $2.1 million in scholarships for the class of 2022, which is incredible. And a good portion of that was through local monies given out by our scholarship committee. It's one of our favorite things to do is to be able to give money to seniors who are graduating. And we have enough money to be able to say that everybody who graduates from Old Town High School and going on to a college gets something from us as a scholarship committee. This next screen is a sample transcript from one of our current seniors as they finished their junior year. And what we wanted you to be able to see is just the variety of classes that she had taken through the early college program. So she's taken American government, medical terminology, psychology, criminology, etc. Mr. Gordon?
I almost talked while muted. I should know better by now, shouldn't I? This next slide, you can get there from here, is just a list of all the, well, a portion of the colleges that we have seen students from Old Town High School sent off to. And if you look down through, it's a pretty impressive list, from Bates and Bowdoin to Embry-Riddle, Harvard. We've had a couple students just in the last 10 or 12 years go there. Stanford, MIT, UConn, all the UMaine system schools. The bottom line is you're going to get out of high school exactly what you put into it. And if you come here and do some of the things we'll talk about in a couple minutes in terms of keys to success, you can reach whatever educational goals and whatever aspirations you have to do beyond high school. You can get there from here. Next slide, Mrs. Sketch.
Right. So a little bit about our course specific information. Our English and math programs have a 1A and a 1B structure. And ideally, what we're looking to do is meet students where they're at. We know that students are coming to us sometimes with gaps and sometimes ready for challenges. And we're looking to meet them wherever they're at. All of our students should be taking a pretest coming from the high school in both English and mathematics. So we'll use those scores as we look at placement. We will also look at placement of the NWEA or 3-year assessment, depending on which specific version the schools are giving for their spring testing. So we do ask that students are taking those tests seriously because we are going to use them for placement information. Students who are selected into English 1A or Algebra 1A just have some gaps and aren't quite ready for the skills needed to be successful at the freshman level. So we are putting them through a class that's going to help kind of fill those holes that they may have. And along with that comes an intervention class so that they would be scheduled with one of our 2 interventionists who are former teachers, former Old Town High School teachers, are very familiar with our curriculum and all the skills that are needed to be successful. There's also a possibility to be able to work on some of those gaps over the summer. So if you're interested in having your student do a little independent tutoring over the summer, if you reach out to me, I will get you connected to them. But you also may hear directly from the interventionist to get your student signed up for summer school, if that's something that you're interested in. As Mr. Gordon said earlier, students do need to take 6 classes to be considered eligible for athletics, honor roll, and to be on track for graduation. We do offer a possible 8 classes total. So we have freshmen who come in taking 8 classes, which is great, but it's not required. So for students who feel that they are really independent at work and at home and don't need a study hall, they can take 8 classes. Students who are looking to get 1 study hall would sign up for 7 classes. And then everybody else would end up with 2 study halls, signing up for 6 classes. Honors versus regular. So this is really the first time that students have access to honors classes. And they're not tied to the honors diploma that Mr. Gordon mentioned earlier. Yes, you do need to take honors classes for the honors diploma. However, you don't have to be doing the honors diploma to take honors classes. We have students who take every section that they can possible with honors, and we have students who decide to just dabble in 1 or 2, but we also have students who don't ever take honors classes, and that's fine. It's really whatever challenge you're up for. I would caution you that if you are not somebody who likes to do work outside of school, I would not sign up for an honors class, because that is absolutely the expectation. Students have to be independent workers in order to do those honors classes. They are a little more challenging, they go a little bit faster, and they go deeper into topics. To offset that, though, we do weight the GPA of the honors classes. Colleges treat regular classes and honors classes kind of shifted. So an A in a regular class and a B in an honors class are about par with each other. So to keep the math simple, we'll pretend that I get an A+ in my class and it's an honors class. So I get a 6% bump on my GPA. So instead of factoring 100 into my GPA, I would factor 106 into my GPA. As a result, we have students who graduate with GPAs above 100 because they've taken so many honors and AP classes. We also have a new CTE explorations class that was put into place this year. So that class is done in conjunction with United Technology Center in Bangor. And we are sort of a pilot program for them. We are using the shop class that was built onto Old Town High School when the Science and Art Wing was opened. And Mr. Jeremy Aldrich is giving students kind of a sneak peek into what it's like to be in a trade. So there's a lot of hands-on learning that goes along in his classes, and they make some amazing projects. It's really cool to see the things that are coming out of there.
So experience has told us there are really 3 keys to success. It's pretty simple and straightforward, and I think these are keys to anything you're going to do in life. The first one is just attendance. Showing up is 90% of life. So be here, be on time. You cannot access your learning if you're not here. So attendance is the first one. The second one is get involved. Make high school more than just English, math, science, and social studies. Mentioned earlier our fall sports opportunities, and a great way to kick off your freshman year is to start with a fall sport. The fall sports season starts 2 weeks before school starts. So if you join a fall sport, you walk in with, already a cohort of friends from that sport, and it alleviates some of your anxiety. So I would encourage you to play a fall sport as a freshman, but get involved throughout your high school career, both in athletics and in clubs. And the final one is do your work. Do what teachers ask of you. If you do those 3 things, be here and be on time, get involved and do your work, the 4 years are going to fly by and you're going to be very successful, I guarantee you.
All right, so before we get into the registration or the class selection, let's talk a little bit about the timeline. So we held a registration session on April 13th, and then we have tonight's. Know that just because you're coming to the second one doesn't mean that your students are at a disadvantage in terms of picking classes. All materials need to be submitted by May 5th, and that's when we'll start working on the master schedule. So just because you're coming tonight doesn't mean that your student is going to miss out on their course selection. Students who are outside of RSU 34 must also complete enrollment paperwork, and I'll show you where that was in the resource document. So the enrollment process requires filling out the enrollment sheet, bringing us a copy of your original birth certificate and proof of residency. And if you bring those to the high school, they'll make photocopies of the birth certificate and your proof of residency, and then give those back to you. So enrollment paperwork can be turned into the high school. It can also be turned into the middle superintendent's office, which is in the middle school. So whichever one is easier for you. We will mail schedules out to students by the end of June so that you'll get to see what classes you've been placed into. Please know that it is a computer that does the class selection. So it may not know that you're really passionate and excited about taking ceramics. If there's a conflict, it may not slot you into that class. But you can make an appointment with us and we'll go through and move your schedule around so that we can get you into those classes as long as there's space. So I will be making appointments starting the beginning of August if anybody wants to meet with me. The counselors are off for the summer and start working the 5 days before school starts. So you're also welcome to make an appointment with them. And as I said before, that transition can be really nerve-wracking. So if students want to make an appointment with me over the summer and come in and walk through your schedule, I will walk through it as many times as you need to in order to feel comfortable. So I am happy to do that. My Fitbit likes the steps that I put on it. So come in and we'll find all your classrooms for you. And then we also do add drop for everybody during the first week of school. So you may have signed up for that ceramics class and you start it and think, oh, yeah, that isn't what I thought it was going to be. We'll still make those changes for you during that first week of school. All right, so in the email that you got with this Zoom link, you've got a resource information document that has some information. So I'm gonna jump out of my screen here and go through that resource document just so that you can see. Give me 1 second, my bar is over. I'm going to stop for a second and move my screen around. All right, I apologize for that. My toolbar is over my menus and I can't see them. All right, so here is the resource document that you were given. The program of studies contains descriptions of every single class we offer at Old Town High School. We can give you the kind of the Reader's Digest version, but if you want to know exactly what a class is, take a look at that program of studies. Also, in the beginning of it, the graduation requirements are listed. There's more explanation on some of the programs that we offer, description of how to access or be eligible for honor roll. So lots of information in that program of studies. Course offerings, you do kind of have a list of every single class we offer just to kind of get that big picture of what everything is available in the English department, science department, etc. The diplomas of distinction, if you want more information, that takes you right to the webpage that Mrs. Gardner oversees. And then there's the link for the enrollment packet for anybody outside of Old Town High School. So our focus, though, is going to be on this course selections document. And I am going to kick it over to Mrs. Ketch and Miss Martell, and I will run the screen and watch the chat. If anybody has any questions, please pop them in. You can either send them to me directly or send them to, or put them out for everyone.
All right, I'll kick it off. Just to be confusing, I'm the other Mrs. Ketch, so no, we're not related. We're sister-in-laws, but if anybody's wondering. So in here, the first thing we're going to do is put an email. It can be either the student email or the parent email, whichever. And then the next thing we're going to do is put the student's first name, student's last name. I do want to point out if, you know, we get to filling this out tonight, and tomorrow, you know, a few days from now, you know, the student is like, you know, I didn't want to sign up for this. I really wanted to sign up for this. What we want you to do, you can go back into the form, you can go back, you can still click this link. And what we want you to do is either like on the student first name, put maybe like a number 2 or even number 3, if that's your version. If you've changed your mind a couple times, so then we know what version to look at. We'll take that number 2 or number 3 version versus the number 1. So like Mrs. Ketch said, you have until May 5th to make those selections. And again, we'll have a couple more opportunities to change and tweak and things like that. So just email student first name, student last name. Can't remember if you take over right here, Miss Martell. You want to take over?
Either way, so current middle school, you just select the one that you're coming from, so that we know. And then I can jump down a little bit. So each box will go by subject area. So the first one is English. Just so you're aware, you do need English every year. So you'll need 4. There are a couple options. Mrs. Aketch talked about how math and English are broken down into an A and a B. So you have English 1A, English 1B. The middle schools were sent pre-tests. So if you haven't taken them yet, you will, to help determine appropriate placement for you as a recommendation. And then there's English 1B honors. Again, we talked about the difference in rigor. So there's a little bit more reading, writing, faster paced, if you want to try honors.
Okay, so we're down to science here.
Social studies.
Oh, socials. Oh, sorry. Social studies again. We have U.S. History 1 with civics or U.S. History 1 with civics honors. So I promise there will be choices later on in the electives, but right now that freshman schedule is kind of, you know, not a whole lot of choice besides, you know, standard and honors choices. And then for science, we have one choice. We have a Earth System Science. And that's because there's a lot of hands-on things, a lot of labs, things like that. And both of our science teachers are amazing at taking kids where they're at. So kind of, you know, reaching students that are, you know, excelling, as well as reaching students that are struggling. So for right now, we have one option for that. So that's easy.
Math options it's very individual. It depends on what you've done in middle school and where you're coming in at. So Algebra 1A is sort of like that pre-algebra, getting you ready to be able to take Algebra 1. So if you've done the pre-algebra preparation in middle school, you could go in at Algebra 1B. We also have an honors level of that. And as you can see next to each of those, it says depending on test scores, because again, the middle school will give you a pre-test to help with recommendations. We have geometry honors as well for freshmen if you've completed Algebra 1 in middle school. And then some students who are advanced in math have completed Algebra 1 and geometry in middle school, and they come in taking Algebra 2 honors, but you must have had both algebra and geometry to do that. And then in some cases, with teacher recommendation and support, we have some students that come in taking geometry and Algebra 2 both in the freshman year. If you have questions on where you're at, you can seek recommendation from your teachers or from one of us, but again, the pretest will help. So just select where you think you'd be at.
All right, so health and PE. So we have a few choices. Typically, if somebody chooses health to take health their freshman year, the next year in their sophomore year, they would select PE. So health, we have a couple options. We have health and health honors, and then we also have a couple options for PE. We have team sport PE, which is more of that typical phys ed class where it's a little bit more competitive, like one team against another team. So like basketball, volleyball, that type of arena. Individual sport PE is more kind of individualized versus like a team against another team. So it's more of those kind of lifetime activities. So tennis, bowling, weightlifting, things like that. So if you're not a fan of that kind of team sport, more competitive piece, you might want to pick that individual PE. But you do need a year of health and you do need a year of PE for graduation. So we ask you to kind of pick your first and second choice. We'll try to accommodate that first choice, but if not, we might need to go to that second choice. And if you on the right-hand side, you see JROTC. So JROTC is, I know that Mr. Gordon had kind of touched on that. So really cool option, very cool leadership program. And with JROTC, you kind of check off some requirements along the way. So if a student takes JROTC their first year of high school, it's an elective credit. But if their second year, it counts as a health credit. Third year will count as a social studies elective. And then if they take JROTC their all 4 years, it would count as their PE credit. So if you have a student or you are a student that knows like, I'm in it for the long haul, I really want to take, this program and do all 4 years, you actually don't have to choose health or PE. If you change your mind, that's fine. We'll just incorporate that in and, fill in those gaps, and you would have to make up that health and PE. But just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of perspective of what JROTC offers in terms of checking off some of those responsibilities.
So then elective credits are those classes that you get to select that have a little bit more choice. They're broken down into year-long full credit or half year, half credit classes, but Spanish 1 and French 1 are the 2 languages that we offer to freshmen. We get this question a lot on, do I have to take a foreign language? For our regular diploma, no. For our diplomas of distinction, yes, you need to take multiple years of a language. There's some colleges that want to see you take a foreign language in high school, but not all of them. So it's a choice whether you'd like to. And then band, if you play an instrument and want to take band, it is a class. If you're interested in jazz band, then you need to take band and jazz band. So be aware of that. And then chorus, if you like to sing, there needs to be an audition or teacher permission, but please select it if you're interested. Music appreciation is a course that critiques like musicals and music without actually having to like participate in the production of the music itself. Video production, they make and edit videos. And then AP computer science has to do with coding and programming and introduction to that. But as you can see, you must have completed Algebra 1 before you can take that.
And then we have a whole slew of half credit electives. And this is where you kind of got to figure out, how many study halls do I need, or if I need any. So you can fill in with the electives, or you can fill in with some of these or the full year electives, or fill in with some of these half year electives. And there's I can't do them justice explaining them, so please reference the program of studies. I can give you like a snapshot of what, drawing from life or design is, but you can really get a richer perspective on what it encompasses by looking at the program of studies. So our half credit electives means that they run for half a semester. So it could be fall semester and it could be spring semester. So something you're thinking about, as Mrs. Ketch said before, if you are a student who, does not need any study halls at all, you're going to want to fill up, you're going to want to fill up your schedule with 8 classes. So 2 half electives equal 1 full credit. So just kind of keeping that in mind. And the ones that Miss Martell just explained, those are full year classes. So those are year-long classes, so 1 full credit. So if I take Spanish, I'm going to get, and I take it for the entire year, I'm going to earn a full credit. But if I take, for instance, ceramics and sculpture, those are two half credits, that will equal 1 full elective. Like I said, there's a variety of things that are available for students. And we see the CTE explorations on the bottom. So if you're, I'm speaking to the student too, or if your student as parents are kind of that hands-on student that they've done a lot of really cool things. They've done some woodworking things, some 3D printing. They're utilizing our shop environment, which is really awesome. That would be a great half credit class to take. A bunch of different art classes, which is neat. Intro to physics, you need to have completed Algebra 1 or make sure that you can take it concurrently with Algebra 1 honors and that intro to physics. Robotics, intro to digital media, digital photography, guitar. So lots of options. All the World is a Stage, that's kind of up a little bit above. That's kind of takes in perspective, touches upon all aspects of theater. So not just acting, but costuming, lighting, things like that. So some really neat options there.
And then if there's information you'd like us to have or questions, that you still have something specific to you, there's a sort of an other box there you can fill in. I do want to mention that we do have a lot of offerings there. And if you're interested in a bunch of them, I wouldn't select, well, they all look interesting, so select them all, because again, our computer can't prioritize. So I would pick the few that you really hope to get into. And remember, there's opportunities to change it if we need to.
Really now we're just we're here. So if you want to, put something in the chat or even come off mute and ask a question, we'd be happy to answer anything. There's been some great questions in the chat that we've kind of, answered here and there, but please feel free to ask. That's what we're here for. So.
Mrs. Ketch, so you had answered a question about Coyote Time, but I don't think we really explained it. Do you want to touch on what Coyote Time is?
Sure. So Coyote Time it's great. It's been a great addition to our schedule this year, and I think students and teachers really appreciate it. So our schedule is kind of that green-white schedule. So kind of an every other day schedule. So students will have 4 classes on green days, 4 classes on white days. So what happens is they'll have block 1 and block 2, and then is our Coyote Time. And in that Coyote Time are also 3 different lunches, but within that as well, all teachers are off at the same time. So it allows students to have lunch, but also has an option to, if they are struggling or need some extra help, they can go see a teacher, or a teacher can request them to come see them and they can work with them. So it's a great opportunity. And for students who don't need to, see a teacher for some extra help, it ends up being really like an extra study hall every day at the same time. So a really cool opportunity. So. All right.
All right, so as Mrs. Ketch said, we'll hang on if you want to enter your questions in the chat. I am going to stop recording at this point.